where you are.
This is Appetite for Distortion.
It was a simple just, hey, will you come in? He was looking for people to put solos on things, you know. Ron Wood was just there, and I came in after him. He was there a couple hours earlier for something, and I used the same amp that he used. You know, all right, there's a bassman. It was good enough for Ron. He says, I'll plug it in. Let's go.
I mean, that's just got to be flattering because you're talking about, and again, now in 2021, you know, how people still look up to you and want to hear Marc Ford. But at that time when you're kind of an unknown, I mean, you're still making a name for yourself. So I don't want to ask the question you've been asked a million times because we were just talking about that time period when you joined the Crows and you could have had an opportunity to join Guns N' Roses. But I guess as we touched on what was last year to you, year of reflection, year of spending time with your family, does that moment in your life, does that pop into your head and do you ever play that game of, it could be a dangerous game, but the game of what if? You know, do you ever play that game?
Oh, no.
Do you ever play that game?
That's dangerous territory.
Okay.
That's fantasy land, man. Before it, like, if you're looking back or forward, it's just dangerous.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, you described the perfect situation, like I think I touched on earlier, is where, in my mind, to be able to walk into that room, I had to first of all think that I was a bad motherfucker and I deserved to be there. But really, I don't know if I truly believed it. Like, I had to keep going like, holy shit, man. Ron Wood, great. Ron Wood just played. You know what I mean? Like, oh no. Well, here's the day I get found out. You know what I mean? It's like, there's always that doubt with an artist that, you know, you're not really doing it because you know how far away you are from it. And you're just sure everyone else sees how far away you are.
So obviously before we started recording, you made some remark to like my Slash, I bought it off Amazon. It's nothing to do.
Slash?
Yeah, you know.
Do you have Slash on your show?
I wish. I've had a son on twice. Guns N' Roses is weird. You know, maybe you can tell us about your relationship because I know you've worked with Dizzy Reed. I've had Dizzy on, but it's hard to get to that. You know, we were just talking about how you release everything. You're so forthright with your fans. We don't get, you know, as a GNR-centered podcast, we talk about everything, but I just don't want to be another generic rock show. So GNR is the hook. The Axel doesn't do that. So that's why, you know, I'm excited to hear any new music, you know, obviously NOFX, but because we don't get it from GNR, we have no updates about anything. It's so few and far in between. So that's why Slashes doesn't come on, you know, as far as I know. He's maybe afraid of spilling the beans, even though I wouldn't ask about it. See, I'm not asking you any hard questions. I'm relatively easy to get along with, I
don't know that much. I don't know them. The bass player who the replacement bass player, you know, from the
Tommy
replacements. Tommy, I know him.
He's been on a couple times.
But we've played with Guns N' Roses a few times, and getting anywhere near them is impossible. And like, you're not even allowed to leave your backstage when they're going to the stage. This is at festivals. But
we ran another band like that,
and the Snake Pit.
Okay.
No, I've never seen another band as like Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
Nobody. Even like Oasis, we took trains with them in Japan, and they were just hanging out. They had some security, but those guys are more accessible.
Interesting.
Even though Guns N' Roses is the biggest band in the world, Oasis are pretty fucking big too.
Mm-hmm.
But once on we were on a plane playing a festival in Norway, and it stopped somewhere, and then as it took off, there was only NOFX and Slash and the Snake Pit on the plane. So it was just pretty cool. And the stewardesses were like drinking with us, and we got into a pillow fight. And Slash was the guy who came over to us. He goes, "Hey, you guys, what's up? What band are you?" I'm Slash. We're like, "Oh, cool." He came up to us, which is, it's the responsibility of the guy in the bigger band to do that. If you're in the smaller band, you just kind of look like a weenie.
So Slash's Snake Pit is bigger than NOFX.
I want to go bike riding with Duff.
Yeah, you want to go bike riding with Duff? Well, yeah, I mean, yes. I would say NOFX was bigger
because I read Duff's biography.
Okay.
Of course we are.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
but still, he's like as a singular.
We're not bigger than Guns N' Roses, but we are a lot better than Guns N' Roses. So that stands for something.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, sometimes I'm in the mood.
They made one good record. Their first record was good.
Okay. But, hey, sometimes I'm in the mood for NOFX and not GNR. But really, you say that because a lot of people just say Appetite is good. Nothing off Use Your Illusions. You don't like any of that. Darrow even asked about Chinese Democracy.
Did they make the wrong move doing a double album?
Yes.
Okay.
They did make the wrong move. And that's why, one of the reasons why I decided not to make a double album. And, M Shadows was a lot of it because he listened to all of it and he goes, "Mike, this is a great single album, but it's not a great double album. There's some songs that, if there's songs that are better than other songs, it's not a good album."
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I see.
You need to make an album that's good all the way through. This was a little spotty. And what's that Guns N' Roses album called?
So there's Use Your Illusion
double album.
Is the double.
Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
But yeah, that was a total mistake. It's so.
I have it up
it's
there.
Just masturbation. Some of those songs.
I just like it because it's more songs.
And it's more songs, but I hear some really good songs, but then they go on forever. And whoever made the 12-inch record, knowing that you can only put 35 minutes on it, 40 minutes, that's perfect. That's how long you can listen. And I don't know. I was pretty bummed out with Use Your Illusion. I prefer the first EP.
Okay, Live Like a Suicide.
And Appetite for Destruction was great. But after so many years, you come out with that, and then Chinese Democracy, Jesus Christ.
Hey,
but I'm stoked they're back together, though, with some of the original members.
Yeah.
Right on.
No, I mean, I think they're a great band. But not prolific, that's for sure.
There's a picture of you with Axl Rose where he looks like as much as a fanboy as I am right now, just very giddy. So can you tell us maybe, is there any backstory behind that photo or any fun stories about touring with them? Because I was going to ask you, because you alluded to this earlier in the interview, to get Slash mixed in with the Pretty Reckless, I would love to hear a duet with you and Axl, if it comes organically, of course,
Well, I'm assuming, I think there's a lot of like Photoshop pictures of us together, but there is one that is real, which was taken at a Paris club while we were on tour with them. And he was doing a very like acoustic stripped back underplay show in Paris that we were, fortunate enough to go to. And he was just phenomenal. Touring with Axl and Guns N' Roses, it was great. What legends, and like to watch him perform every night and not miss a step. That guy, he's so good. It was incredible. And we were supposed, before the pandemic happened, we were supposed to be doing it again. We were supposed to, in 2020, we were supposed to be opening for Guns N' Roses again. And I was very much looking forward to that. So, hopefully that will come back around when touring comes back around. Because it was a great experience the first time. And, now that Guns N' Roses is actually like a reformed, full unit again with all the original, or most of the original members, Slash and Axl are back together. That was going to be something I was very much looking forward to, and I hope that tour actually does come to fruition in the future.
anyway, so we were aware of the band, and so time went by, and we got a record deal, and we were on the road, and Guns N' Roses started to get a little more popular, and it kind of happened brick by brick with those guys, if I remember correctly. And then some, then they were getting to the point where it looked like it was going to blow up. And so anyway, Axl's backstage, and I know I wouldn't have gone up to him, but I think his manager said, Axl would like to meet you, Mo. And I said, okay, cool. And so I went and I said hello to him. And if I had to describe him in one word, it would have been sweet. I mean, he was just the sweetest guy. Like, and he was kind of shy, and he's like, and he was saying, I didn't expect you to be shy. Like, I see you on stage, and you don't seem shy. And, and he said he really liked I'm an Adult Now, and he liked our record, and, and he was just like the nicest guy. And it was just like two guys who were in bands talking. It wasn't like I'm about to become the biggest rock star on the planet talking to like a guy who's in a band just starting out. It was a really nice conversation between, and then so someone said, hey, let's get a picture. I think it was somebody like, I don't know if it was just like a paparazzi or if it was someone who actually worked for Rolling Stone. But anyway, and we have this picture, and the funniest thing about the picture that people always comment on is that Axl's kind of leaning into me when we take the picture. It's almost like I want to get my picture taken with Mo. I mean, that's not what Axl, how's that look? And I always just kind of joke around about that. And so that was it. And so, and anyway, it ends up in like the next week, it's in Rolling Stone magazine. And then it was in every magazine. Like every magazine had that picture. It's like I couldn't go anywhere without seeing that picture of me and Axl. And then after that, we went on tour into Europe, and we were doing all these big stadium shows opening for the Eurythmics. And literally every country we went to, I picked up their music magazine, and I can't read a word of it, but there's the picture of me and Axl Rose. And it's just like, there's that picture. I have no other picture of myself that is that ubiquitous as that picture. And then it feels like every 2 years, I like open up a social media thing, and there's a picture of me. Somebody's just decided to post that picture of Axl Rose again. And it's like,
another call. Hey, Doug. And I'd known Doug because he used to be security for David Lee Roth on the first tour. Another friend.
He's a big friend. He's a big friend of the show, and he's great. Yeah,
he's amazing. So another friend gets a gig, right? So he got in with Guns N' Roses and called me and said, "Can you be on a plane in 3 hours to Minneapolis? There's a show tonight." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you know the songs?" I said, "Yeah, perfectly." He said, "You do?" I said, "Yeah." So I got on a plane and I flew out there, and they were supposed to meet me at the hotel and rehearse just in a room. We were just going to kind of go through the songs. There was a snowstorm, and they couldn't get to the first gig until basically showtime. And so no rehearsal. And other than, there was a little issue with getting Axl to the arena on the first night. And I said, well, I'm not going to go on stage without him. And they were like, well, Slash is going to sing this, and this.
Do we have a Slash sing?
It was a bass player a bass tech or somebody walked up to me and said, "What song can you sing?" I said, "Keep talking to me. Axl's not coming to the show." I said, "No, I don't do that. I'm not gonna go. I'm not playing if Axl's not playing. I'm not gonna start on that foot." So all of the nuttiness was not after they got successful. It was always like that. They were always on the edge, and that was the beauty of Guns N' Roses. You didn't know if they were going to fall off the edge or if they were going to keep it going, and that was the danger. That was the danger that record brought. They never had that danger again. They had amazing songs after that, and it's still a great band. But the dangerousness of Appetite, they lived it. It wasn't put on. That's why it was so successful. That was them. Axl was like, I'm not going to the show. And he ended up, I met him as he was walking up the stairs to get on stage, literally the stairs to the stage. He goes, "Hey, nice to meet you. Let's do this." And we played a show, and it was perfect.
Hi, this is Lisa Maxwell from the 976 Horns on the Use Your Illusion tour, and you're listening to Appetite for Distortion. What we did between songs was, there was never any set list. So we had to be listening, every musician or group of musicians had a little room under the stage, like a little waiting room with a TV monitor. so we could see what was going on stage. And then we had to just be listening and ready for, like, if we were sitting down there waiting, we weren't on Welcome to the Jungle, let's say. So then at the end of the tune, we would get ready to run up on stage. We had to listen for the first few notes of the next tune. And, you know, by the end of the 2 years or 2.5 years, however long we were with them, like, it was pretty easy to tell, like, okay, we could name the tune in one note, you know, but in the beginning it was challenging, like, wait, are we on this tune or not? You know, and then we'd run up. And we were on the position on the very top of the stage in the middle, so we had to run up all these stairs. And it was pretty funny.
All right, I'll give that because people are excited to hear from you. I'll give credit that question from one of my listeners, Dirk from Germany, because I can only like imagine you at the beginning. It's like, ready? You have like 1 foot on like one step, like ready to go.
Yeah.
Or if it's Welcome to the Jungle, you have a break for 4 minutes.
Yeah, heels and horns, and you know, like falls. Our hair was down to our ass. You know, it wasn't all our hair, but you know what I mean? Like we were in like costume practically, you know, with these high heels and then the horns. And the very first, I think the first shows we played got reviewed by the New York Times, and the reviewer said, and they've added models holding horns, like a horn section of models pretending to play the instruments.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, well, I'm flattered that you think I'm a model, but like, you know, we're really playing I remember doing a couple of interviews, one with the Boston Globe. I had a friend who was working there, and she's like, I'll interview you, and you like get the word out that you're actually playing.
When they first brought it up with me, the idea of it possibly happening, I didn't, quote unquote, jump at the chance. It was kind of like I needed to really give that a lot of thought, because there was just a really unique set of circumstances. So after I thought about it for a while, and it seemed like they really wanted to play, and I thought, well, okay, let's give this a shot. This is they're an important moment for them. So if I can help facilitate it, great. But honestly, in the back of my mind, I really did think that the entire band would show up. I thought everyone was going to be there. I thought Axl would show up at the last minute. One of the things I remember, maybe more than being on stage, was I was behind in the backstage area, and they were accepting their award and talking. And then I heard applause, and I see them start to head to grab their instruments. And I remember I kept looking at one of the doors, thinking that Axl would walk in and they would perform together. I honestly thought that was going to happen.
Wow.
When I looked one last time, the door didn't open, and I remember telling myself, you're gonna have to go out and do this now, you know. So essentially, don't fuck it up.
Because I didn't realize this, that you did a short tour with Izzy when he was with, yeah, and he says, I remember the Krang magazine saying Izzy's struggling because apparently you were too good on that tour.
No one knows what it was. Our merchandise, people thought it was because we sold more merchandise. Our fans think it was because we were better. I still don't know why it didn't happen. But I do know that when I was a kid, growing up with bands like Cheap Trick, the best thing about Cheap Trick was they'd get kicked off tours for just being great and popular. And we were, when we did the Izzy Stradlin tour, we were just about on our first ascension. So we had loads and loads of people, not just supporting the band, but interested in the group as well. And what we were doing was like so, you know, fast and aggressive and frenetic. And he was doing basically kind of, you know, laid back, bluesy kind of rock and roll. I know the bass player from that band, from that lineup, Jimmy Ashurst.
Oh, he's been on.
He's one of my absolute favorite human beings. And he says it was because we were headbanging in the sound check, which has never ever happened. And I've found the only one in the band who would do that, but definitely not us. And so I still don't know why it was why we got kicked off. But we got kicked off the one show, which I took at the time to be like, or to bucket list kind of request to be kicked off a tour.
I've never thought about that. I didn't know that about Cheap Trick.
They give us a warning, both singers from both bands, about profanity and lewd behavior on stage. It's like something from a movie on the Doors in like 1970. It was like, is this really happening in 1987? You know, we were like, what? And so Guns N' Roses go on, do the show. You know, they're the opening act, special guest. Axl does whatever Axl does every night, which I'm sure includes a few swear words, you know, a few mother F's and this and that. Nothing. Asprey goes on stage. We do our set. He doesn't utter one swear word because he never does. It's just not Ian's shtick, right? But he's got an English accent, right? So we come off, these cops come backstage, and we kind of lock the dressing room door because we hear rumours that the cops want to talk to Ian, and this is not a good thing. And they're not there to say, you know, these days the cops usually come and tell us how much they enjoy the band and grew up listening to us. But in the old days, we were considered dangerous. So they were like dangerous to them, I guess. So they come in there after Asprey, and then, this is true story. Ian climbs out of the Colts dressing room window, which is on the first floor, with a baseball hat on, climbs down a drain pipe, gets on Guns N' Roses tour bus and leaves with them.
Nice.
Cops come in the room and they're going, where's your singer? We don't know. We haven't seen him. He just went off stage and, I don't know, vanished. And they're going, they're going, we have evidence that he issued the words, during the performance, he issued the words, and this is, I remember the quote because I was like, what on earth is they talking about? So he issued the words, sucking COCKS in Amsterdam. I'm like, really?
That's so...
Yeah, like, A, why is that illegal? And B, why you... But anyway, that was a true story. He did... the actual profanity in question never got uttered. It was just bizarre, man. It was like a weird, and stuff like that would happen all the time.
Bono sees me, you know, grabs me by the shoulder, gives me a hug, and says like, Roy, did you ever get that license plate you told me about? Just straight into like a conversation where it left off 4 years earlier. That was shocking. I was like, oh, wow. You know, I was humble a little bit. And at the time, Axl was a huge fan of Bono, kind of starstruck himself. And so he suddenly, for the way that Bono treated me, that there was this transference. Suddenly Axl, and I was kind of like I'm saying, I was almost ignoring him. I wasn't going to freak out on him there. I was just going to say, I was going to let them have their privacy. You know, and he pulls out a seat and says, have a seat. So I sit down. Now I'm sitting in between, you know, Axl on the right and Bono on the left, and I get pulled on in like an equal. And Axl actually like, how do you know Bono? And, oh, my name's Roy Orbison Jr. And da 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 da. We start talking, and we're just instant buddies. And he was really, there was, like I'm saying, there was a transference somehow because Bono trusted me, he trusted me. And so suddenly I'm sitting down, and I'm only like 21, 22, and we're drinking, and the place starts to thin out, and we were there for the next 4 hours. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. The place is closed. Everyone's gone. The audience long gone. The backstage long gone. Everyone gone. And it's me and this one table. And then it's, you know, time to say goodnight. So we're going, and I'm walking out, and I'm sort of smiling. I got a big smile. I thought, wow, that was cool. And I realized, oh, I'm the only one not on a tour bus or in a limousine. So I have to walk back out. And, of course, I'm on the wrong side of the Coliseum. The parking lot at the Coliseum, I'm the only car in there. Very, very lonely. 2:30 in the morning, pretty dangerous area. I'm completely alone. Walking back, thought I was going to get killed, through the parking lot to my one car, way, way, way away. And I just thought, well, this is the difference in me and Bono. I get stuck in the parking lot, get killed in the parking lot. They're already like chauffeured off and gone.
You know, I have always really loved Axl as a singer, as a frontman. Just really think he's a really talented guy, and never got to meet him, right? I've been around places where he was close by and I didn't know about it, and never got to meet him. So yeah, cut to, we did a handful of shows with them, and still, you know, he's kind of a mysterious guy. you know, he would always go on, never on scheduled time. And like at that point, we would always be in the bus, maybe traveling to the next location because we'd already left, you know, and so we never got an opportunity to link up. So cut to, we do a show. I think it was one of the last shows we did with GNR. And I'm in the bus, right? We're all in the bus after the show. And our tour manager goes, hey, Axel wants to say hello to you guys. He's got something for you. You guys could come in the venue. And I was like, what? Yes, you know? So we get all our shit together. We go in the venue and just the most bizarre experience. We're in the hallway of like some arena. He comes out, he walks towards us. He's got a bag, just a plastic bag, right? Like from Best Buy. And he goes, how you guys doing? I just want to say, you know, it was nice having you guys out. And he takes his bag out and he hands all of us an iPad. He gives each of us an iPad from Best Buy. And I just want to give you guys a gift and tell you how much we appreciate you having out. And I was just like, are you kidding me? This is amazing. I'm like, I was speechless. It was like one of the coolest gestures from one of your heroes, like that it's ever happened. It wasn't that we got an iPad. It was that fucking Axl Rose gave us a fucking iPad, and like, and we took a picture with him, and that was it. He left and walked on stage, and I was just like, man, that was like fucking amazing, you know. So there's been a handful of experiences for me in my rock and roll career where I've met some of my heroes, and it was really a wonderful experience, and that was one of them.
I love it. Axel Winfrey. You get an iPad. You get an iPad. I love it.
So cool. He's such a class act, man. That was amazing.
It was you kept looking for an ad with in the recycler. That was
recycler. And so I had called, got a message, you know, just a generic answering machine back then. This is, you know, whatever, early 80s. And got a call back. I think I was living with my mother in Pasadena at the time. Didn't get the call. Played phone tag with whoever was calling me, and finally, I called, and I got the call back from this guy named Jeff, and he's like, "Yeah, man, yeah. So what are you gonna do? You play drums? What you got? You know?" And right off the bat, it was just like, "Okay, well, what do you look like? Do you have a pair of black pants?" It's like, "Yeah, actually, I'm wearing some right now." You know, and well, how long's your hair? You know, what are you into? What's your bag musically, blah, blah, blah. What do you play like? And he was looking for all the, you know, because at the time, again,
the password. I like how you said that, the GNR password.
The passwords and the buzzwords were like, you know, at the time, if you're either into kind of like Motley Crue and Wasp and Rat and not even Poison yet, because Poison was just starting, but like some of those bands that were playing around the Strip that had grown out of playing the Strip and gone on to make records. But then there was the Strip bands that were of that ilk, real pretty boy, pink, a lot of pink and a lot of stripes, and, you know, kind of like London and bands like that. He was like looking for people that were a little more dialed into like kind of a niche, you know, like, got to be into Aerosmith, you got to be into the Dogs, you got to be into the Stones, you got to be into a handful of other things. If you like Priest, it's okay. If you like Maiden, that's okay. You know, you like, you know, whatever. But you know, we're, and then if you heard Hannah Rocks, I was like, yeah, I got their you know, single, a couple posters. I was like, whoa, okay.
You have quite a lot of different crayons in your crayon box of ways you can go.
Yeah. I'd like to see. I think I've expanded it to the big box. I may have started with a little like the 6 colors, whatever, like the small box was.
Sure.
But then I've been adding more and more crayons, and I mean, you know, just getting into the weird ones, you know, with Broadway and radio and TV, and now I'm going to be directing a movie. Like, holy shit, I didn't have that palette, but I've expanded it. Look, you know, you hit on a very important. Nothing makes me crazier than the words "rock and roll is dead." It is so selfish. It is so self-serving. It is so self-absorbed, self this, self that. It's just wrong. And it's like, get out of your fucking house, open your fucking ears and eyes, and just look around. Stop doing this and my God, you only have to turn left or right, and you'll just trip over a damn band that's trying to make it with very little effort. And I'm blessed in that my children are all metalheads, and they have kept me connected to what's going on, and not just metal. I became an Eminem fan when my son was 10 and wanted the album with Stan on it. And being true to my words in Washington, I listened to it and then sat and discussed it with my son. And we had a very, very important conversation about suicide, thanks to Stan, using it as a tool. But but they exposed me to that as well. But they have kept me aware of not only that there's new music, but there's great music. When Gene Simmons says, oh, let me tell you something, there's no Bob Dylan's or Jimi Hendrix. No, you're just not looking. The talent and the passion, because it's pure passion now. They don't have, these young kids don't even have a hope of getting rich doing it. Their best hope is that maybe we make enough money selling CDs and T-shirts after the show to get to the next fucking gig. You know what I mean? It's so real. It's so heartfelt. It's so for the love of rock and roll. Makes me crazy when people say rock is dead. Crazy.
What did you think about when Appetite came out? Or were you even aware because Dokken was so busy touring and working at that time in 1987?
Well, I mean, obviously it was a monster, record that was just a paradigm shift in rock and roll. But the connection, being a gear guy, again, to go back to that, my perspective on it was I was more interested in what Slash was using in the studio, which was the same amp that I used on Back for the Attack, which was this amp that we both rented from SIR, Studio Instrument Rentals in Hollywood, which is on their, in their warehouse. And we both wanted to buy it. And I don't know what happened to that amp. It was a JCM 800 and it sounded incredible. And I was like, oh, I need to own this thing. And they went, we don't sell our equipment. We just rent it. And then Slash rented it. I guess, I don't know if because he rented it because he knew I used it, or if he just rented it, it was just a, happy accident. But either way, we both ended up using it on our biggest records. And so that amp is out there floating around somewhere. So that was my connection to that record anyways. That I remember.
That's so cool.
That is cool. Yeah, we got to get that. There's got to be this. I don't know if either of you are wrestling fans, but there was a WWE show recently where they would try to find lost memorabilia of these famous wrestlers, and there's got to be something like that with rock stars to find these lost amps or guitars or these things with history.
Well, the problem is that and I'm sure it has been found, or I don't know if it has been found, but there's a lot of people on the forums all talking about this is like known stuff now. Not it's a common knowledge for people who care about this stuff, but if the amp is around, then it's going to be priced out of affordability for anybody.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Including myself.
The standout quality of Slash and Axl was really apparent. You know what I mean? Like the kind of rock version of Lennon and McCartney or something. I just thought they were really just an amazing, interesting band. I didn't quite understand how. Then came out the acoustic record, then there wasn't a record. It was all sort of strange how they kind of imploded, sort of that did, normally you have a band you like and they just bring out subsequent records and you continue watching them grow, and they just sort of had this kind of massive record, then the acoustic record, then nothing, and then then Use Your Illusion. And so it was weird as a kid kind of going, what's next? I found it a bit confusing. And then I do love what's happened with them, that this one record they have, I mean, they basically played records, stadiums off of one record. It's incredible. It's a phenomenon. And then all the kind of, what is it? The Chinese Democracy, 12 years. And I was signed, and it just was always funny to kind of, they all seem to be like sticking it to the man, $12 million on making a record. And, when everyone was playing for studios, it was just like, I mean, it was only later I realized that it was their 12 million. But but you just seemed it seemed a bit like this seemed pretty punk to be so, you know, like have that record and not just decide to bury their differences and make another record. You know, they kind of went off into that whole tangent. So it was just like they became this classic record, then this kind of tangent they were on, but yet still massive. And then they came back without Slash, and it was one thing. And then when they get Slash back, it's stadiums, and so it just shows that people, you know, that a record of that quality just lasts, you know, just when they come out and play, you know, Welcome to the Jungle, it's still amazing, you know, some of the, you know, great songs in Paradise City. It's just sort of a lot of, so when I went to see them, it was really good fun, you know, I really enjoyed it. And I would have gone again, but I'm not in town, so I didn't go and see them.
My MO as a photographer is my ability to, as I said, to connect with people and to get them to follow me. Maybe it's my passion, maybe it's my whatever, but to follow my lead and do what I want them to do. But even though I had them within this banquet room and within like a white seamless, so it was definitely a box, it still was a wrangle. I got them. We did a bunch of things together, you know, trying to get the band tight together and to do something that's going to fit on the cover with 5 guys. And you know what? I should actually share screens with you because I have a contact sheet right on my desktop. Do you want me to do that? Can we do that?
Yeah, I think we can.
Do you need to share with me?
Multiple participants can share simultaneously. So I think I gave you access to that.
Okay, so let's see if that works. Yeah, so here.
Okay, all right.
So this is
wow,
the actual contact sheet from that photo shoot. And you know, you can kind of tell by the energy who was doing what and where, and you know how late they were up the night before versus, you know, what they were like when they walked in with me. But obviously this was actually the cover right here.
Okay.
In the center, and this was one of my choices up at the top with my TW, but this is back from '88. So I don't know if you want to leave it there or close.
No, we can talk over it. I like it, and you know, leave it over.
You know, I'm making a Rolling Stone cover, man. The lighting's got to be good. You know, I'm an upper echelon photographer. There's only a handful of people who get to shoot Rolling Stone covers, so I'm excited. I'm you know, I'm thrilled, and I'm, you know, really on my game, and you know, the lighting's great, but you know, getting 5 guys together isn't easy, especially guys who are cooler than cool. Like, how do you get them to like lean on each other or compose themselves in a way that really works, you know, within the confines in the box of a white, you know, square.
Sure.
But I did. It wasn't easy, but I did. And so we got this.
I forget where it was, but you were telling a story about when you met Axl Rose in 1988 and you gave him a demo tape. Yeah, and he threw it out. Like,
yeah.
What songs were on that? Is there any more you can elaborate maybe on that story? Have you ever spoken to him about it?
I did speak to him about it in a club in New York, and he actually came across a room. We had never met before, really, other than just kind of meeting backstage at the show in Seattle at the arena, where I gave him the demo tape. I can't remember what was on it, but you know, like I say, they were an important band to us, and you know, that Appetite is one of like a handful of records that is like one of those epic things that kind of transcends space and time in the band. You know, it's just like the, you know, worldwide massive record, and it's perfect, you know. But I was in a club, I think I was with Billy Duffy in New York, and Axl came in, and I saw him come in, and he kind of like locked eyes with me, and I'm like, and then he kind of just started walking toward me like with a purpose, you know, and like, I'm like, okay, and he comes over and he's like, I heard you tell that story about me giving you that demo, you giving me a demo tape. Are you still with that girl that you met there? Because I had told the story. That's where I met my girlfriend Courtney at the time.
Okay.
And he was more curious if I was still with Courtney, which was pretty cool.
Okay.
And yeah, we chatted for a little bit, But yeah, it's just one of those kind of fun things. You know, you're proud of your band when you're kind of unknown, and they were pretty damn huge. You know, and people still give me their demo tapes all the time too. It's old school. Here, check out some stuff. You know, we used to pass around demo tapes amongst each other, and that's how we kind of learned about other bands and back in the day, before you could just do it all electronically. You know.
Jeez. You never knew what was going to happen. Honest to God. You know that
honestly, from day to day, right? We never knew what was going to
The band did a 2.5-hour show with no set list.
Yeah.
Go. See, tell me what band does that these days.
Right. And
2.5 hours.
And the stage was so big that we had these like dressing rooms underneath the stage. And so, you know, we'd be like playing cards and hanging out under the stage. And then they'd be playing a song. They'd start playing a song that we're on. And then we'd be like, oh, we got to go upstairs. And, you know, so we'd run up onto the stage and start performing. It was insane.
It was like that all the time. He would introduce a song because we didn't know what the song was going to be. So he started talking. And then by what he said, we knew it was going to be double talking jive or something like that. Yeah. He would say something and go, double talking jive. I'm up. You know,
right.
So you go racing up to the top. It was crazy. I mean, think about it. No set list. How would a light guy get the cues?
Oh man, yeah.
Insane.
It's all different now because everything's automated and everything runs off a central computer.
Back then, it was all analog. I mean, it was pretty high tech, but I mean, even to the pyrotechnics had to be you always had
a lot of those too.
Sometimes here's a good one. We had a guy named. What was his name? The pyrotechnic guy, not Nitro. He had
wasn't it?
No, Nitro.
No, that's a total roadie name.
He had a name like Nitro, and he had a twitch.
That's what you want from your pyro guy. Like Nitro.
Oh no, his name was Pyro. That was it. Pyro. That was his name. That was his name, Pyro, and he had a twitch. And he was in charge of the pyrotechnics.
Oh my God.
You never knew how much he was going to fill the canisters up with until they went off. And
there was some close.
There was so close.
Yeah.
And the horn players would be playing, and then a flash pot would go off, and you could see like Ann King go like this.
And Axl brings these TVs that are no longer good because they broke for one reason or another. Who knows why they broke, but they broke. And, you always want to shoot a TV and see what happens. But anyway, so we're getting to the story now. We get out there, we have our fun, we shoot. Now we want to go home, right? We're done. We want to go home. Guess what? Axl lost his keys to the car, to the truck. So now, and we don't have cell phones, we don't have beepers, we don't have anything, right? So, or we might have a beeper. That's useless because you can't call anyone. But we're screwed. The sun's going down. It's getting dark, and his keys are not in the car, and they're not in his pocket. So now we have to double back everywhere we were walking, and it's kind of like sand and dirt and some mountains, and we're backtracking a lot of, and we're walking here, we're walking there. It's getting dark, and my wife's great. They shot each other. They're dead, or they got, or they got in a shootout with somebody. What's going on? You're going to be home before sundown because it gets dark, and it's like 8 o'clock at night. What's going on? She's thinking, what the hell's going on? So, the story. So I see Axl's walking on this ridge, like a mountain ridge, and he's got these boots on. He's cowboy boots or whatever, and I guess his pants were in the boots, not out of the boots, but in the boots maybe, or maybe he was wearing, I don't know, but for whatever reason, the keys fell out of his pocket and had fallen in the boot. And he is just realizing that there's like a rock in his boot and it's bothering him. So he's reaching in his boot to like pull out this rock that's bothering him. And he comes up with the keys. So it's not necessarily a Guns N' Roses story, but if you tie in my wife's worrying about us and it's dark, it's way dark, 9 o'clock at night now. And, if you tie that all in, and if he didn't find those keys, we would have been there just stuck. I mean, we'd have to like start walking, like 5 or 10 miles to get out of there to find like somebody to help us, or so that's just I've never told the story, but it just jumped in my head because my wife tells it all the time. It's making fun of us, but
very excited about the idea. And there was actually one of the directors, I think he's quoted somewhere in there, maybe to Mike Milo. He was like, "Yeah, Axl Rose, that yeah, he's one of my favorites." And then as soon as the name was mentioned, we all kind of like got all very excited. And so yeah, and then we reached out to see if they were even interested, and if to his people, his people. And then we wrote a premise, or I wrote the premise, and he agreed to do it. And we were all excited. So yeah, it was really cool.
Talk a little bit about that premise, what you decided, because you were spoken about from Chris, the showrunner of the episode, within the article, about you did some research on Axl, and that's kind of what you based it around. His love of, was it archaeology?
Yeah, it was archaeology.
And pies,
Yeah, and pies. Well, that was kind of it, right? It was like a combination of things. Like, I think every premise I put together, I really wanted to hopefully find something that was interesting to the celebrity, or all these people are icons. I mean, Axl's he's an icon, and so we were like you want to find something personal, hopefully, or at least interesting, to them. And so the combination of, I was reading articles, and I came across something about how he likes to read and what he likes, and he's really, really well read, and one of the things, I mean, could have, like, I think could have been an archaeologist, could have been so many different things, but he went to rock and roll, which was, thank God, for all of us. But and that struck me. And then the whole sort of then there was a whole sort of motorcycle rock and roll element, that I thought was very important, because of, I mean, I love motorcycles, but I think it's just part of that iconic kind of vision. You see them on motorcycles, it's like there's like this. So I was thinking, oh, motorcycles, and then Route 66, yeah, and then like archaeology, okay, and then like mixing all these three together, like sort of based on all the research I did on Axl. It seemed like the right story. I don't know why, it just sort of came together.
The only reason I know about the track Hard School at all is my publishing company emailed me about maybe a week and a half ago, and said, "Hey, do you know anything about the song Hard School? Do you have anything to do with the writing of it? Because it's coming out, or it just came out. We want to know what the splits are." Because I guess it was done when I was in the studio with them, but we recorded so much material. And after I left, they worked on so much stuff post me being there. And it was 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago now that I was there, that there's a few things that I really had a big hand in on the writing. For instance, the title track, Chinese Democracy, I wrote the music to it. There was a few other songs that had working titles that never ended up on the Chinese Democracy record, but were laying around. I know at least when we recorded them 20 years ago, Axl liked them a lot. And once again, when I was there, they didn't have any lyrics yet, so they just had these working titles. And so when Hard School came out and I listened to it, I went, God, maybe that is one of the songs that I wrote that they since, later put lyrics to. Like when I was there in the studio with them, the song Chinese Democracy wasn't called Chinese Democracy yet. I think the working title was Smells Like Josh Spirit, because I wrote it and the chords are really simple. It's just like these three chords over and over and over. And someone at one point goes, "This sounds like kind of a cool, like Nirvana riff or something." So it was titled Smells Like Josh Spirit, like up on the board where we had all the songs we were working on. Axl hadn't written lyrics to it yet, and that didn't happen until after I left. So once again, when I went, okay, Hard School, let me listen to that, because maybe that's what this song turned into, or that song turned into. I listened to it. I didn't recognize hardly any of it, That being said, maybe I did write some of it. Maybe because once again, it was 22 years ago, but there was 2 or 3 things that I brought in where I really wrote the majority of the music, and I would definitely recognize instantly. As a matter of fact, before the track started playing, I'm like, I wonder if it's going to be this one, or this one, because there was a few that were pretty cool that didn't end up getting used. But that wasn't one.
Your voice, the way you hit it vocally, and Tracy's riffs, the way he brings what he does on the guitar. Why do you think that they fit so good on songs like that, or even going back to like Rip and Tear or Electric Gypsy. But man, you know, on this new stuff, I don't know, it just fits good. It, you know, rocks like a mother.
Great, thank you. You know, there's something about partnership, certain partnership. You know, Mick Jagger has it with Keith Richards. Roger Daltrey has it with Pete Townsend. Steven Tyler, Joe Perry. That's me and Tracy. We're our muse. We're Cain and Abel. That's what we call ourselves. And I've worked with hundreds of guitar players and good ones, really good ones, and you know, come away learning a lot. But nobody's ever made me work as hard. You know, when I'm working with Tracy, when we're in the studio or on stage or in rehearsal, I'm on my best game. I'm on my best behavior because, you know, he's giving me the best that he's got. He never mails it in. He's not half-assed about anything. So, you know, a lot of the time it's just, you know, fun, rock and roll, you know, jamming with the mates. It's never like that with Tracy. It's serious work. We got some serious work to do and no fucking around. That's just the nature of the way we've always worked. And I like to think that he's given me the very best of himself, because he's certainly getting the best out of me, the best that I've got. And because of that, I find myself, I push myself out of my comfort zones to do stuff and interesting stuff that I might not have done.
Are you still in contact with Izzy? They were wondering if you're recording with him. Is there anything, I guess, you can tell us, maybe why there hasn't been a release of the JuJu Hounds? Just anything in that realm they're able to update us on, we would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, not much to report. I spoke to Izzy about 8 months ago, and he was in Colorado. He riding out the pandemic out there, and we chatted. He, you know, it's always, well, let's get together, and he go, you know, okay. So we're just, you know, he's a hard man to track down sometimes. You know, he marches to his own drum, to say the least, right? So you never know where he's at or what he's doing, but, you know, he keeps busy, man. He keeps traveling, and, you know, I think he's into Baja racing. He's into his art. He's a painter. He, I think he surfs still, perhaps. And, you know, he's a California man.
Okay.
He's doing good. He's doing fine.
That's, again, just like with you, that's the most important thing. Because fans just want, just like with the Georgia Satellites, we're glad to get this time capsule of a record and performance, to hear it, and that's what has been sitting around. Or I'm just to use a phrase loosely, sitting around. But fans also want to know if the same thing is with the JuJu Hounds. If there's anything unreleased, anything unfinished from that era that could possibly see the light of day, if you and Izzy do in fact hang out again.
That's a good question. There's there is stuff out there in the can somewhere. There's a lot of stuff, I think. And, you know, maybe, next time I speak to him, maybe I could, you know, rattle his cage on something like that. He's in full control of all that stuff.
Yes, he is.
So, you know, it's his ball.
Okay.
But, yeah, there's some really cool stuff that never made it out, I think. We spent a lot of time in the studio, in many different studios. So there's stuff out there. I like it to see the light of day.
Oh, in New York, what was the show? You'll know this more. The place they played, was it Irving Plaza?
The famous show? Or like
the famous show.
The MTV Ritz show? I'm wondering if that's what you're thinking.
It was before they broke. I was at that show, and I remember going backstage. It was crowded backstage. I think it was Irving Plaza. I'm pretty sure it was Irving. It was a small place, and it was on. They were on fire. They were on fire. It just went. It blew the roof off. It was just insane. It was incredible. And I went back and said hello to the guys. They've come to our show. Slash has been in Duff. They've been in our shows. They're great dudes. They're just great people. Like, so, you know, they've been to the mountain and back, and they are still the same people, which is great.
you remember the first time? Sorry, just generic question. Like the first time you heard Appetite. Do you remember like where you were?
I remember I think I was on. God, what year was that? What was the actual year?
87. I mean, it was out for like a year. And
I think I think it was on a tour. I think we were on a tour bus, and the first time I heard "Welcome to the Jungle," I said, "That's fucking ripping," because it was just raw. And when I hear Guns N' Roses, all I think is just raw and just the guitars and vocal marry, and it explodes. And that really, it was so good for rock and roll and metal in general. It just brought it to another level. It was that timing. Everything was right. It was just an awesome time in our lives.
And now, because I have like Guns N' Roses Tourette's or ADD, because when I hear "Welcome to the Jungle," I get excited, but it's usually a Nissan commercial now. I don't know if you've seen. I think it was Nissan, one of those cars, Nissan or Mitsubishi or whatever.
It is. I just saw that they keep it lower. Did you notice that they keep the song almost? They should push the song up. People identify with the song more than about the car. Let's face it, dude. So play the song. That's going to be ear and eye catching. Where's that coming from? Then you look at the car, and then you'll sell your car, right? It makes total sense to me. Play the song louder, dude.
All right, you got to be a money man. You're in your next career phase. I guess.
That's where the money is, dude. Hey, look, quite a few records have been sold for that song alone, right?
Oh, Axl called me one day and said, "I'm working on this record, and it's for End of Days soundtrack. Do you want to come and play guitar on it?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, of course I do." So I was given a location and a time in a studio, and I showed up with my gear, and there was 10 people in the studio, and I was like, "Where's Axl?" And they're like, "Well, he's coming. And but let's get started anyway." I said, "Okay." And I sat down, I plugged in, they played the track. I said, "This fucking sounds great, whatever." And I recorded a couple of passes, and then all of it, I swear, I shit you not, I swear, all of a sudden I hear in the background, "Yeah, that sounds really good. Why don't you keep that one?" And what it was Axl on speakerphone from his home, listening in the whole time. And I was like, "What?" It's just Axl's voice out of nowhere, like out of the fucking speaker. And then he kind of gave me some direction, and I was like, "Okay, cool." And then we were stoked, and that was that. It was just it was a very strange, but like, I love that it was strange. You know what I mean? Like, because it's you know what I mean? Like, because it makes the story so much juicier and more fucking just memorable and fun. And like, and Axl at one point when Izzy left the band really wanted me to join the band. And we talked nearly every day about, ideas and the way the band could work with me in it. And getting back to the mental health stuff, like at that time in my life, I was just simply I was not present enough to do it. So I had an audition with the band that I actually didn't show up to because I was immersed in my drug addiction. And I just simply couldn't show up in that shape. But, it happened the way it happened. I went on to go and be in the Chili Peppers, and, and oddly enough, Flea ended up joining Jane's Addiction for a tour, and Duff ended up joining Jane's Addiction for a tour. So at this age now, it's all Wonder Under the Bridge, and we're all part of this collective musical family. And then we all played together a myriad of times. But the degrees of separation with those guys and us are way less than 6.